Martin, you lead Just Capital, which is a research organization focused on building a more just marketplace. What does just mean to the American people today?
So, great question. So, just to the public means lots of things, which you would expect. It really means treating your workers well. It means treating your customers fairly. It means making products that benefit society. It means supporting and investing in the communities where you work, creating great jobs, making money, and essentially helping to build a more fair and equitable marketplace. So the major themes of justness are as I've described. We look for, those don't change. And what's interesting is they have been stable no matter which demographic we talk to, no matter where we go in the country. So that's been a constant, which is actually a surprise given political volatility and how much the world has changed over the last few years. I think what we see is the public, wanting companies to do better. We see 80% of the public last year expected company CEOs to take a stance on social issues. We see more people taking action. Almost 80% of the respondents have done something to support just companies, either buying from them or working for a just company, or investing in a just company or taking some other form of actions.
We're also seeing that willingness in terms of individuals looking to do what's healthy for them as individuals, but also what's healthy for their communities, their society, their broader world. Are there any specific examples of companies or brands that you see really tapping into that agency that people feel and really using that to grow their business?
We see leadership in all sectors and by all types of companies in different ways, depending on what industries they're in. I think of the leadership of some of our top oil and gas companies on environmental matters, or Accenture, has done phenomenal work within the workplace. We see that replicated with Texas Instruments, another one of our top companies. So we're seeing companies take concrete actions. One tech company, which I won't name, at their request, did the first living wage audit that we're aware of the companies that we're tracking. So I think we see perhaps some of the more public and publicly available changes that companies are making. But I think there's a lot going on within companies that perhaps we don't see, and that's great too.
We project that by 2021, the market in the US for sustainable products will reach $150 billion. Where do you see the balance between consumers and companies pushing each other forward in terms of the supply and demand for sustainability?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it is a balance. We agree. We see that in our own polling. Consumers more willing to reward companies for their leadership. I think what will happen, we're moving to a place where certain things are going to become, what are leadership now will become table stakes in the future. So we think about the progress companies have made on, for example, on their work with promoting women into positions of senior leadership. That's becoming expected now of companies, and I think we want to see it's very tangible ways to track that. We see companies moving a little more slowly on issues related to pay and the disclosure of wages. We see more disclosure on benefits. Whether consumers are willing to reward companies for being good employers is interesting. Would you shop at a company if you felt like it was treating its workers poorly, as opposed to because the products that it was making were good for the environment or good for your health, or you felt that there was some other aspect of their supply chain perhaps that drew you to that company. So I think the range of issues that consumers will reward companies for doing is going to grow. But I also think that the trade-off of that is consumers are going to want more information, and they're going to want more authoritative sources of data, especially B2C companies. And I would expect a lot more information gathering from companies gathering information from their customers on what they want to see and what aspects of their behavior are most important to them.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Nielsen Product Insider, one of our products that we use to share some of the sustainability research with the public, we've found that companies that have claims around B Corporation are up 15% compared to a year ago. So it's interesting that you bring that up, because I think it is something that consumers are looking for more information about, how companies treat their employees and other things that might not have been on the package or been part of the story years ago.
It's certainly our experience. We talk to companies all the time. We have many former company leaders on our board and on our advisory councils. I think the range of issues which are now considered to be sort of relevant to stakeholders' sort of interests and the sense of values and purpose, that range of issues is growing and becoming more complicated. I also think what's happening is companies are beginning to connect the dots internally between, for example, HR-related issues, human capital-related issues, their compensation and benefits strategies, their sustainability strategies, how they embed some of those features of their company into the products and their marketing. What does that mean for their, the way they communicate with customers? So I think that is kind of a really interesting sort of interplay of issues, which perhaps previously have been dealt with by separate departments and separate people on separate floors of a company.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, more change ahead. Well, thank you, Martin, for taking the time to share Just Capital with us today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.